didn't really sink in until I saw the ticker tape coming down from the rafters of the Key Arena. We had just won a WNBA championship. It made the risk, the surprises, and the difficulties of getting to that point all worth it. I almost didn't make it. 24 hours earlier, I was sitting in the Phillips Arena in Atlanta, watching a nail-biting game that we should have won by a comfortable margin, and yet it came down to the last shot. When the buzzer sounded, we'd won by 3 points. The visible part was the championship celebration, the champagne shower in the locker room afterwards, and the pictures. But what you didn't see was me leaving that, grabbing my cell phone, and frantically making phone calls to the airlines trying to change my reservations. When you're part of the NBA, there are chartered jets, private planes, all waiting around for when you need them. When you add a W in front of that, not so much. We fly commercial, and the airlines won't let us make multiple reservations based on playoff contingencies. And the owners scramble to make their own flight reservations and flight changes when we are fortunate enough to win a series early. So we finally, through a number of scrambles and through some frantic negotiations, were able to make it back in time for the championship parade to celebrate with our great fans in the Key Arena. The elation, the scramble, the learning were all part of the journey that I'd experienced in the prior 3 years. In February of 2008, we finished buying the team, and it was sold to Force 10 Hoops, as you heard. When we bought the team, the euphoria of buying it quickly changed to the reality of running the team and the difficulty of that. Halfway through the first season, the Sonics moved to Oklahoma City. And though we had a joint operating agreement, much of our staff disappeared with the Sonics and left us without that support. And the remaining people were understandably preoccupied with finding a job. We finished the season, and that fall and that summer, we went into a US and a worldwide recession. The stock market dropped by 30%. The financial markets, the automotive markets were in a shambles. Optimism was on the run. We were scrambling to replace our infrastructure, everything from our office space to our IT systems to our staff. We lost a number of season ticket holders and sponsors, partially due to the economy, but also partially due to the fact that they were angry with the NBA. And that was the situation that we were faced with. I took over leadership in December of that year. The first question I asked myself was, WTF? What? What have I gotten myself into? If we had known at the beginning of that year what would transpire, I don't know if we would have had the courage to buy the team. But we did. So, after calming down, I thought to myself, SVPD. Everything I had learned about helping build capacity in nonprofits was applicable to the Storm at that time. We had a charismatic CEO who was very skilled in her area, but didn't know anything about organizational development. We had a product that people received well, but lacked the infrastructure to deliver it. We had a declining revenue stream. Sponsorships are like foundation grants. Ticket sales are like individual donors. And our staff didn't have the necessary skills. I did an organizational assessment, and we decided what our key priorities were for the next year. In 2009, we had another great regular season. But again, injuries hit us, and we got knocked out of the first round. We had to vacate our practice facility within a month, but most importantly, after our first full year of independent operation, our operating losses were about 3 times what we had planned. And keep in mind, we didn't plan this as a nonprofit. So, the respect afforded to the men's league doesn't translate to the WNBA. Many people say that it's not a real sport. Other people say that our female athletes aren't real athletes. If the Storm got $1 for every time that I heard or read that a high school boys basketball team could beat them in a game, we'd be profitable today. Well, not really, but it would surely help. So you can understand how building support for the Storm was very much like building support for a nonprofit. And the lessons that I learned at SVP were invaluable for me. In the 2009 SVPI conference, I listened to Andy Goodman talk about the importance of using stories to talk about your nonprofit organization. So I changed from talking about attendance and ROI to talking about the family that buys 8 season tickets every year and brings 4 generations of their family to every game because they consider it a really important family bonding experience. Or the 70-year-old woman from Iowa, where I'm from, who wrote me a letter and told me how proud she was that an Iowan had helped keep the team in town and how important that team was to her because she'd never had the opportunity to play sports. Or the 70-year-old girl who came up to me and told me that she didn't want to be like Mike, she wanted to be like Lauren or Sue. Through SVP, I also learned how difficult it is for nonprofits to raise funds and develop individual donors. This year, we added a new program at the Storm called Community Spotlight, where one nonprofit is featured in every game, and they get exposure before and different times during the game. They're exposed to 10,000 new people, and they have an opportunity to buy tickets at a deep discount, and then they can resell them for a profit or give them to their donors or use them in whatever way they think is beneficial. This year, an SVP alum, Technology Access Foundation, took advantage of the program. This year, a few weeks ago at the SVPI conference, David Haskell, the keynote speaker, talked about how important it was to have big dreams. Not just good ideas, but large dreams. He was talking about the SVP network, but I couldn't help thinking about the Storm and the league. What big dreams did I still have for them? Now, I know the Storm isn't the same thing as strengthening a homeless shelter or building a world-class school system. But I still think it's worth dreaming about what the league can do to create great role models for boys and girls out there, not just of big athletic accomplishments, but of big citizenship and big community involvement. I think the NBA does some of this work, but knowing what I know about the team and about the league, I think we can do more. I'd be lying if I told you we have it all figured out. We're still losing money. I'm still making mad dashes to the airport. But I know, excuse me, but I know that what I've learned at SVP is only making me better. And I feel very, very fortunate to be able to integrate 2 of my greatest individual passions into a connected whole. Thank you.